It's okay now. So good morning. So this morning I want to discuss a topic that is closely related to the internet and the email, that is called the networks. Because now we have some devices which are using the networks, which are using the email, not the email in the internet. For example, you can have a device like the switch, you can have a device like, for example, like the router. These devices are using the word in the internet. For example, there is no way you can connect to the ISP unless you have what the router. So I want to discuss now this topic, which is closely related to the internet and what and email. So I want to discuss the networks. You know what are networks? For example, you have seen in organization, computers have interconnected using what some cabling. That is what we call a network, whereby these computers they work as what? As one. There's what in networks. So the objectives of this topic to discuss what is a network, the types of networks or the categories of networks. Still, we shall discuss now the characteristics of different networks. Still, we shall discuss the components of the whole of the network. For example, we shall have the switch, we have the router, we have the gateways, we shall have the bridges, we shall have the repeaters, the routers. These are some of the components of the networks. Still, in this topic, we shall discuss some of the terminologies which are used in the networks. For example, you have a network packet, like terminology. We have a terminal, that's terminology. We have transmission medium, these are what terminologies. Still, we should discuss what we call the topologies in a network. We should discuss topologies, the way or the arrangement of the nodes or the computers in a network. And the topologies, we should discuss the types of topologies. For example, we should discuss the bus topology, the switch, the mesh topology. We should discuss the star topology, the ring topology, and the hybrid topologies. Still, we should discuss the factors considered when we are selecting that topology. Then, after topologies, we should discuss the transmission medium, the way data is transferred. Because now, data can be transferred using cables or using what? The airwaves. So we shall discuss what the transmission medium, where we have the guided and what and unguided. For the guided, we shall discuss now. For the guided now, it is one whereby you must have a connection, a physical link between the sender and the receiver. We shall discuss the use of coaxial cables. We shall discuss the use of fiber optics and the twisted pair cables. Then, for the unguided, we shall discuss two. There is what we call we have the infrared and we have the terrestrial microwave. That is what we shall discuss in this topic. And maybe I can start by asking, maybe let me ask Juma whether you know what is a network or whether you have come across this term network somewhere. Juma, have you ever come across the term network somewhere? Juma, have you ever come across the term network somewhere? What about in your bed? Have you ever come across the term network somewhere in your bed? The term network. Have you ever come across it somewhere? Nyabera? You ever come across the term network somewhere? Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, that is a good guess, Juma. Connection of computers and cables used in the network transmission. That is correct. So when we say now a network, or what you call a computer network now, it is a combination of hardware and software. A combination of some hardware and software that helps to achieve communication between computers. Understood? That combination of hardware and software that helps to achieve communication between computers. Even still, someone can say it is a collection of computers and devices which have been interconnected to facilitate communication. That correction or that combination of what? Of several computers and other devices which have been interconnected to facilitate communication and to allow the sharing of resources between the interconnected devices. The reason we are saying that it's a combination of hardware and software, we have some hardware now or some physical components which you can see in a network. For example, a switch is a what is a hardware. We have a router, it is a hardware. We have a bridge, it is a what is a hardware. Then whenever we talk about the software now, these are the rules that govern the communication that network. For example, you can have what we call the network operating system. You can have what we call the network operating system. Is a software that helps to achieve that communication. In case now, you do not have the NOS in your network, there is no way you can do what? You can be able to communicate, or there is no way you can share the resources with the other computers in the network. I hope you have understood the term network. That combination of what? Of hardware and softwares that enables to achieve communication. So we have said it is that interconnection of interrelated components, either computers or devices, that facilitate that communication or the sharing of resources. That is what we call a computer network. That is what we call a computer network. Then we have some terminologies in computer networks. The first terminology you always come across is the term client terminologies. So you have some terminologies. There is what we call a client. Whenever you hear the term client now, it's a computer, not a person.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
It is the computer, not a person. This computer allows the user to log on to the network. Then this computer, it allows the users to log on to the network and take advantage of the resources on that network. That computer that allows the users to log on to the network and to take the advantages of the resources available on that network. Actually, a client computer will have its own operating system. It will have its own operating system, either using Windows 7 or Windows 10. But now, the purpose of that client, it is to therefore computers do not have their own processing power. Because we have said their purpose is just to get the user or to allow the user to access now the resources on the network. So these computers do not have their own processing power. These computers do not have any storage space. And they do not have a big memory. And because now their work it's like like a ship to drive, or it is like something to carry something, or to help the user just to access the resources on that network. That is what we call a client computer. I hope you have understood the client computer, Juma and Nyabera. Have you understood the term client computer or that client? Because you have said it is not a person, it is a computer. Have you understood client? Yeah, maybe we can proceed. The next terminology you come across, it is a server. You always come across the term server. You always come across the term server. Now, when we talk about a server, any computer can be a server. But now, what varies now in terms of the server now is the specifications of that server. So when we talk about a server, this is a much more powerful computer. Is a a much more powerful computer that runs a network operating system. A much more powerful computer that runs a network operating system. Actually, the purpose of a server is to provide centralized administration and to serve up the resources that are available on that network. That is the main purpose of that server, to provide what we call centralized administration. So you must be having someone who is able to govern all the resources and the security of that server, and still to serve up the resources that are available on that network. Actually, a server incorporates a large memory. It must be having a large memory. A server must be having faster processors. Remember, other computers or other clients, they are relying on the information in the server. So this server must be powerful. It must be having a large memory to store the information. It must be having faster processors. It must be having very many disk drives. For example, the normal client computer has one disk drive, but for a server, it must be having maybe like 10 disk drives. This is what we call a server. And the work of the administrator in that server, it is to decide who can and who cannot log onto that network and the resources they can access. That is what we call a server. That much more powerful computer that incorporates a large memory. It must be having faster processors and many disk drives. And we have said its main objective is to serve up the resources or to allow other client computers to access the information. We can have the types of servers. For example, there is what we call the print server. We have the database server. We have the cloud servers. They are several. So that is what we call a server. I hope you have understood the term server. Then you always come across the term data communication. Next technology is data communication. You always come across term data communication. So if we talk about communication now, this is the conveying of messages from the sender to the receiver. But now in data communication now, it is that electronic transmission of information, that transmission of what? Digital information, which has been encoded digitally. And the reason we are saying that this information has been encoded digitally, it can be processed by computers. It can be sent over a network. It can be sent over the email. That is what we call data communication. That electronic transmission of information that has been encoded digitally. That is what we call data communication. Still, you always come across the term transmitter. Our terminology. You come across what? The term transmitter. That terminology. Transmitter. And if you've ever seen the transmitters, for example, we have you can have
You are currently the only person in this conference.
A transmitter. What have understood a transmitter? I have said is that electronic device which has an antenna that propagates an electromagnetic signal, maybe for radio, for television, or what other communications. Maybe you can share a screen here, showing you a transmitter. Let me just share a screen here, showing you a transmitter. Just share a screen. Let me just show you. Let me just show you a transmitter. Let me just share a screen here. They are stating a transmitter. Because they have said that it enables the transmission of what we call electromagnetic signal. It can either be used for radio, for television. Let me just show you. Yeah, I can see that, Juma. Can you see the transmitter here? It's a transmitters here. Yeah, I hope you've ever seen them. It's a transmitters. Can you see that, Juma? In your bed, can you able to see that? Can you see the transmitter? Yeah, in your bed, can you see that information? And Juma, information or that transmission of what we call electromagnetic signal. I hope you can see that. So the next terminology you always come across is what we call simplex communication. But even before we go to the communication, we can have a receiver. You always come the term what? A receiver. We have the term receiver. We have the term receiver. What is a receiver? Who is a receiver? Now a receiver, this is the receiving end of the communication channel. Remember, the information is coming from the source to the destination. So the destination is the receiving end. You have the receiver. Then that person who is going to get what? The information which was sent over that over that network, or the information which was sent over over that email or that internet. That is what we call a receiver. Then we have the term signal. We have the term what? Signal. We have the term signal. So when we talk about the term signal now, this is a physical quantity that can carry what information. Remember, a transmitter is able to send what? That electromagnetic signal to other transmitters or to the people that now they can access what? The TV stations, access what? The radios. So that signal is a physical quantity that is able to carry information. That is what we call a signal. I hope you are together at that point. Juba and Nyabela. I hope you are together. Any question at that point? Or any clarification at that point? Any clarification or any question at that point? Yeah, no. In case of no questions now, maybe you can proceed now. The signal, there is what you call a channel now. Yeah, there is what you call a channel. We have a channel. So, Juma, let me ask you, what is a channel according to you? What is a channel according to you, Juma? What is a channel according to you? Because now I believe now in communication now we must be having what? A channel. What is it according to you? A channel. Juma, what is the channel according to you? The channel.
You are currently the only person in this conference. You are currently the only person in this conference.
Yeah, that is correct from Juma. Yeah, that it is. You have Juma. That is a means through which information is sent. That is, yeah, it can be what a channel. So when we talk about a channel now, this is a medium that is used to convey information from the sender to the receiver. It is a medium that is used to convey information from the sender to the receiver. A medium can be, we can use the terrestrial microwave, or still we can use the physical ring. For example, we can use the cabling. We can use what the cabling. That is what we call a medium. That is what we call a medium. Then we have the term simplex communication. You always come across this term, simplex communication. This term, simplex communication. This one, we have simplex communication. So simple communication now, this communication that occurs in one direction. Communication that occurs in one direction. That is what we call a simplex communication. Then there is what we call a half-duplex communication. You can have this one, the half-duplex word communication. And have what? They have duplex communication. And for this one now, it provides communication in both directions, but one direction at a time. But what? One direction at what? At a time. For example, when you are speaking with a smartphone together with someone, you have to wait for him to go to finalize the statement, then you talk. That is what you call have duplex word communication. Then there is what you call the full duplex communication. There is what you call a full duplex communication, whereby it is composed of two connected parties or devices that can communicate with one another in both directions. Yeah, what you call just you. What you call the duplex communication. We have the duplex communication. So these are some of the terminologies you always come across in our inner network. Still, there is what you call we have a network packet. You come across this one, a network packet. the term network packet. Because what happens now, the information in the network, it is sent in terms of what? In terms of packets. Whenever we hear the term packet now, this is a formatted unit of data. This is what we call a formatted unit of data that is carried by a packet what switched in the network. And actually now, this unit of data can contain bytes. Together, can contain what? Bytes or kilobytes. That is what you call a network packet. That formatted unit of data that is carried by what you call a packet switched network. Yeah, that is what you call a packet. Now, I want to discuss now some of the devices that are used in a network. Which are these devices used in a what? In a network. The devices which are used in a what? In a network. I'll discuss now the devices used in a network. And now, some of these devices, you have come across them. For example, you have come across a switch somewhere, you have come across a repeater somewhere, you have come across maybe a gateway somewhere. These are the devices which are used in a what? But before we go to the devices now, maybe we can discuss now some of the benefits of having a network. What are the benefits now of having a network? Yeah, let's discuss that before we go to the devices. The benefits now of having a network. And one of the benefits of having a network is what we call file sharing. So we have benefits. Network. We have the benefits of our network. One of the benefits is what we call file sharing. File sharing by once we network the computers now, it makes it very, very easy for the users. Remember, we are the users of what of that network whereby we can share application, we can share what application files, or we can share other documents. That is what we call file sharing. It makes it easy for the users to share what application files. That is the first one, file sharing. Then there is what we call hardware sharing. Hardware sharing. For example, if you have ever seen in a cyber cafe, whereby the computers have been connected from a network, and you realize out of the type of computers now, we are having a single printer. We're having what? A single printer, whereby each and every individual in those computers now, they can print using what? The same printer. So that printer has to be shared over that network. That is what you call hardware sharing. Still, you can share the compact disk drives and hard drives in the network. That is what you call hardware sharing. Still, another benefit of having a network is what you call program sharing. That is what you call program sharing. By applications such as the spreadsheets. In word processors now, they can be run over the network. So instead of installing these programs in the client computers now, you can just install this program in the server. So in case now a client computer requires or requests to use a certain program, he or she is given access by the server. So you realize in the client computers now, you will just install the client operating system. But other programs now, they will be installed in the server. They will be shared with all the client computers. Then lastly, still a network. It allows communication. It allows the users to take advantage of the communication media, such as the email, the news groups, and the video conferencing. Yeah, there is a way you can conduct a meeting or online. So these are some of the benefits of a network. The benefit of a network. Any question at that point? Any question, Juma? Or any clarification? Any question or any clarification? Because I want to discuss now the components of a network or the devices which are using a network. Any question at that point, Juma and Yabera? Any question? Juma, is it about Yabera? No. Wi-Fi is not classified as a transmitter. Basically, a transmitter now is the device together that contains an antenna that is used to distribute electronic signal. Yeah, it's not a Wi-Fi. That is a bit different. Yeah, better. You have heard that. No, it is not a transmitter. I think that because a Wi-Fi now this is a wireless network together whereby it can propagate what they see the signal. Yeah, it is not transmitter, but it can even be a transmitter because now. But now the only difference is that we use the wireless. For example, can have a wireless router whereby you can see what propagate. But we say now the transmitter now they are used to send what these signals, and it can be used for radios. It can even be used for television. That is what we call transmit a transmitter. The Wi-Fi is a what? A wireless what? Access point. Yeah, just a wireless access point. And for the Wi-Fi, it covers a small distance. That is like maybe 20 meters. But for the transmitter, the antenna, it can cover even many kilometers, many miles. So together, you can say that signal over what? Over along the distance. Now, I want to discuss the component of a network or the devices in the network. I want to discuss now the devices which are used in the network. Which devices do you know? Which devices do you know use the network? What we have from you? Which devices do you know are using the network? Which devices? From you, the devices you know that are using the network. And which devices do you know? Which devices do you know? Which devices do you know? Yeah, there's a hub. I want to see the devices. There's the router switch, that is correct. Yeah, what about Nyabela? Which devices do you know? I can see Jim have said at least 3. What about Nyabela? Which devices do you know are using the network? Nyabela, I want to hear from you. Yeah, it is okay. And we can proceed now. One of the devices which is in a network, one of the devices which is used in a network is what you call a router. You always come across a router in a network. There is what we call a router. And now the purpose of a router now it is to communicate with the ISP. What the ISP? Remember the ISP now. This is a company that it provides the internet services. For example, you can have Safaricom, can have Fiber, can have Zuku. So the work of the router is to communicate with the ISP. Still, it is the work of the router to forward packets to the intended destination. It's the work of that router to forward packets to the intended destination. These packets now they can be forwarded using what an IP address based on what the routing table. Still, it is the work of the router now to connect two different wide area networks. It's still the work of the router to connect what? Two different wide area networks. Let me just share a screen here showing a diagram of the router. Let me just show you what is the router. Let me just show you what is the router. Let me just show you what is the router. Yeah, I hope you're able to see that. Yeah, these are the diagrams of routers here. Yeah, some have some antennas here to provide Wi-Fi. I hope you can see them. Can you see that, Juma? You better can you see that? These are routers. And you have seen now they can be used to connect to the ISP. They can be used to connect to two different wide networks, and still they can be used to forward packets to the intended destination. These are routers. I hope you can see that. Yeah. Can you see that? I hope you can see that. Yeah. I hope you can see that. Yeah, better can you see that? Tofauti Nyabela, is he able to see the router? Yeah, that is called a router. Yeah, see, the next device, the router is what we call a switch. You just come across a switch now. Now, a switch now is very, very common in the ICT lab, but it is a switch now. The purpose of a switch now is to extend the network. Extend the network. For example, where you can connect this computer using just the cables, you must have the switch to extend the network. Switch, a good switch must be having at least, and now but now a switch is more intelligent. Let me just show you a diagram of a switch. Here's a switch here. I'll show you a switch. Yeah, it's a network switch. A network. I've typed what network switch. Yeah, they are here. You can see them. These are switches. Have you ever seen this? Yes. There's a what? A network switch. You can see that. Able to see that there is a switch, and you have seen it is used to extend the network. You don't have to have a network. Have a switch, And what happens now? There's no way packets can be sent. So the network will be off because the switch is what is off. There's no way the packet can be out over that network. That is what we call a switch. Then there is what we call a hub. Now a hub contains, but it has less number of ports. It has less number of ports than a switch. For example, like 5 ports, 6 ports. Just show you a network hub. We said it's not intelligent. And there's a hub. There's a what? There's a hub. Yeah, you can see that. That is what we call a hub. Yeah, any question on that? Any question between the switch and the hub? Any question? Any question? Or any clarification between the switch and the hub? And you have said that the switch is more intelligent than hub. And the switch contains more number of ports. Yeah, in case there's another question, the next device that we always come across in a network is what we call, we have a bridge. We have a bridge. We come across this device in a network. Now the purpose of a bridge now, it is to connect two different networks. For example, in case you're having a local A network 1 and half, local A network 2, for you to join this, remember these are two different networks. And you can only just join them normally. You have to use this device, a bridge. So a bridge now is an internet device that is used to connect two different local area networks. Used to connect. Here we can have one is here. You can have a bridge here. You can have a bridge. You can see that now. The bridge, and you have said for this. Is used to connect two different local A network or ones. You can't use a bridge, you can use a bridge. Then there is what we call a router. There is what we call a router. Now a router now is a combination and the router. A router is a combination of the bridge and the router. So for this one, it contains features of both The router and the bridge. For example, a router can be used to connect to the ISP. That is one function of the router. A router can be used to forward packets to the intended destination. The third, a router can be used to connect to different local area networks. Still, the same router can be used to connect to different wide area networks. And now most organizations, they prefer having a router instead of having the router and the bridge. Why? It is able to perform both functions. So, but still now, the router is more expensive than what? Than a single router. A router is more expensive than a single bridge. And you have seen organizations, they prefer using what? A router. In qualification on that, Juma. Juma, any question? In case there's another question, maybe we can go to the next device that is using the network. There's what we call a repeater. Let's have a repeater. Still a device using the network, a repeater. And maybe first explain what happens with a repeater. For example, maybe you have a signal that is being transmitted maybe from the ISP to the customer. And now it is supposed to, the duration of the distance is very, very lengthy. For example, it's 40 kilometers. 40 kilometers. Maybe you have this signal is coming from the ISP to the customer who is 40 kilometers away. And now that customer has paid for 100 MBs per second. 100 MBs per second. As the signal comes from, it becomes the signal or the bandwidth is at what? 85 MBs per second. But remember, the customer had paid for 100 MBs per second. So what happens now? The customer must receive 100 MBs per second. Because by the time the signal reaches the customer, it is around 70 MBs per second. So that ring, or in that physical ring, we must install this. It is used to generate a signal. Used to, the signal was at 50 MBs per second. It will be generated once more to 100 MBs per second. That is what we call a repeater, a device that is used to generate what the signal. Okay, let me just share a diagram here showing you a repeater. Let's have a repeater. Yeah, let me just pick the best repeater. These are repeaters here. Some are wireless repeaters. Yeah, we can have this. This is a repeater now. This is a repeater that is used to generate the signal. Used to generate the signal. This is what we call a repeater. So have we understood the term repeater for that device? So Juma understood? You better understood, or can I repeat the repeater? So have you understood or repeat? Yeah, maybe I can repeat now. I can repeat the repeater. We have said for this one, this is a device that is used to generate the signal. Used to generate the signal. Let me just give a practical scenario whereby, for example, maybe the signal was being transmitted from the ISP to the customer, and the customer is 400 kilometers away. The customer is what? 400 kilometers away. You realize if the customer had paid for 100 MBs per second, the browsing or the bandwidth, 100 MBs per second, after certain kilometers now, the signal becomes weak. Instead of being at 100 MBs per second, it becomes at what? 80 MBs per second. By the time that signal reaches the customer, it's at 40 MBs per second. But remember, the customer had paid for 100 MB per second. So it is therefore the ISP or that company who is providing the signal or that internet to install the repeaters. At some kilometers, there's a repeater. At some kilometers, there's a repeater. So that signal, if we can afford 40 MB per second, it is generated once more from 40 MB per second to 100 MB per second. So by the time that signal reaches the customer, it's at 100 MB per second. So I hope you have understood. You understood? Then it is okay now. Another device that is using the network is what we call a gateway. We have a gateway. A gateway is just a node in a complete network, and its purpose now it is to stop data on it from other networks or to other networks. This is a gateway. It can stop data from being transmitted over other networks. That is what we call a gateway. A node in that computer network. And its purpose is to stop the transfer or the transmission of data to other networks. Let me just show a diagram of a gateway. It's good to see the diagrams here. Gateway. You can see them here. Let me just show you the best. Yeah, like this one, you can have this a gateway together that is used. You can have this one. This is a gateway that is used to stop the data from being transmitted over other networks. This is a gateway here. You can see that. This is what? It's a gateway. Be able to see that. Yeah, so these were some of the devices which are used in a network. Now, still, we can discuss when there's a modem in the network. There's a modem. You can have even a modem in the network. You can have what? A modem. And you know with a modem. A modem means what? Modulator. So the work of a modem now, it is to convert incoming digital signal to analog. It is to convert incoming digital signal to analog so that it can be transmitted over all the telephone lines. That is what we call a modem. That is what we call modulation. The modulation now, it is convert now to the modulated, it is convert now that analog signal back to the digital. That is what we call a modem. Yeah. So these were some of the devices. You come across them in a network. You have to say there's a hub, there's a router, there's a bridge, there's a router, there's a repeater, there's a modem. Now I want to discuss now the classifications of networks. I want to discuss now the classifications. I want to discuss now the classifications of networks. The classifications of networks. Networks can be categorized based on size. So they can be categorized based on size. They can have based on the network type. Yeah. So these are the major categories: classification based on size, and we have classification based on what? Network type. Maybe you can start the first one: classification based on size. That is the first one. Classification based on what? Based on size. Classification based on size. This one, there is what we call a local area network. We have what we call a local area network. And this is a network that spans or is a network that covers a small geographical region. For example, like a school. In case they have a school or in a building, we form what we call a local area network. A network that spans a small geographical region. In a good example, you have what? A school. Let me just show you a diagram of a LAN. Let me just show you a diagram of a local area network, a network that is able to cover what? A small geographical region, because it must be knowing which devices now or the infrastructure of that what? Of that LAN. Let me just show you. Let me just show you a LAN, a simple LAN. Let me just show you the simple LAN. Let me show you the best. The best LAN. Yes, we can have this one. This is a simple what? A simple local area network. A network that is able to span a small geographical region. We have said, a good example is a school. For example, in a school, we're going to be having a switch. It's here. We're going to be having what? A switch. We're going to be having a server somewhere. We're going to be having what? The computers. Still, we can be having a smartphone which is connected to maybe a wireless network somewhere. This is what? A simple network whereby we have client computers, and instead a client is that computer that allows the user to take advantage of the resources on that network. You can be having servers here which are used to store the information. The servers can be having a print server, can be having an application server, database servers, a dedicated server. They are what? A web server. They are what? They are several. This is what we call a local area network. A network that is able to span a small geographical region like a home or a school. Then the second classification of a network based on size is what we call metropolitan area network. We have a metropolitan area network. We have a metropolitan area network. The metropolitan area network, this is a network that spans a small geographical region than a one, but larger than a LAN. A network that is able to span a small geographical region than a one, but larger than a LAN. For example, in a city, the term metropolitan means what? A city. Because you have a city network, it forms what? A metropolitan area network. Why? It is larger than a LAN. Because you see, for the LAN, it was able to span a small geographical region. But the reason we are saying it is less than a one. A one covers a country. But for the metropolitan covers what? A city. That is what we call a one. A man. The diagram of a man. A metropolitan area network. You and network diagram doesn't have just show you a man. You can have this one. Just the base diagram of a man and the devices in that. Yeah, you can see now. In a man now, we have the connection of different LANs. Together, can you see now we are having different LANs? This is a local network for a school. This is a local network for a factory. This is a local network for a hospital. And this is a local network for a college. This forms what? A man. This network is larger than a what? Than a LAN, but smaller than a what? Than a one. That is what we call a metropolitan area network. Then the last network is what we call a wide area network. The wide area network. For this network, it spans a larger region than a man. For example, the one can cover a country. Let us have a diagram of a one. And now, for you to have a one now, you must interconnect this network by using the routers here, or using routers. Using what? Routers or routers. Yeah, I can see this now. The diagram is clear. Yeah, can you see that? This is a one. Are you able to see this? This is a one. Yeah, this is a one. A wide area network. A network that is able to span a large geographical region. This is a one. Any question? Any question, Ruma? Any question or any clarification on the classifications of networks based on size? Any question or any clarification? Still, we can have what we call the personality network, the PAN. A network that spans just a small geographical region. For example, like an office network. You are connecting your laptop using what? Your phone or sport together is a PAN. Any question or any clarification? And no question from Juma. What about Nyabena? Any question? Yeah. Let me just explain. Here's a question. Explain the difference between Wi-Fi, router, and a tab one. Now, the router, we can have the router. The router can provide even the Wi-Fi. A router is a device that is used for the packet to the intended destination. A router connects to the ISP, the company that provides what? The internet services. So what happens with the router now, we can have a router which is having some antennas. The purpose of these antennas now, it is to distribute that electromagnetic signal. Together to distribute what? That electromagnetic signal. The Wi-Fi is called an access point. The wireless fidelity. For example, now for the Wi-Fi now, this signal now, this physical quantity, it is transmitted using what we call over the airwaves. Over what? Over the airwaves, the Wi-Fi. Still, we can have some routers which are portable. Some are portable. Some can just carry them in your pocket. And they will still connect to the ISP. Let me just show you a router which is having some antennas here to provide what? Wi-Fi. And because now for the Wi-Fi now, there must be a signal. That physical quantity that can some information. Let me just show you. Wi-Fi router. It is here. I hope you can say that now. This is a router. But if you look at this router now, you can have this one. I better if you can see that now. You have this diagram here. This is a router. This router has two antennas. The purpose of these two antennas now is to provide what? Wi-Fi. Together, it's provide one Wi-Fi. So they're able to transmit the electromagnetic signal to the surrounding area. I hope you have understood about that Wi-Fi. Still, you can connect the cable from the switch to the wireless access point, and it will still provide that one, that Wi-Fi. You can see that in your banner. Bella, I hope you have understood now the router. You understood. Can I proceed? Can I proceed? Yeah, so that was the classification of computers, not computers. That was the classification of network based on size. You can discuss now the second. The classification, discuss now the classification and now have this. The classification based on network type. Classifications of network based on what? Network types. And now for these ones, they are very, very common because you can have what we call the peer-to-peer network. The P2P network is what we call the server-based network. So one computer is acting as a server. So the classification based on what? Network type. And we said the first one. The first one is what we call a peer-to-peer network. Yeah, peer network. Is what we call a peer-to-peer network. A P2P network. The first classification of network based on what? Based on network type, or sometimes there's a classification based on what? Point of control to point of control. Let me just show you a diagram of a peer-to-peer network. Let me just show you a diagram of a peer-to-peer network. So what happens in a peer-to-peer network? You don't have the centralized control. You don't require the administrator here to manage the network resources, or to manage what? Security resources, or what? Security requirements. For this one, any individual machine can share its resources. Any individual machine can share what? Its own resources with any other computer of the network. However, the sharing of these resources can only happen in case now one computer or the users choose to do so. Together, each computer has an equal access to the network resources. This is what we call a peer-to-peer network. For example, in case we're having two laptops and I want to send some movies to someone, I can just connect The next laptop using a cable. Using what? An internet cable, come across that later. And I'll form what? A peer-to-peer network. Still, for example, in case you can be having a single switch. Maybe, for example, you have 5 computers. You can have a single switch whereby we have connected all these computers to the switch. Together, it forms what? A peer-to-peer network. And you have said all the computers have equal access in responsibility of that network. And we do not have any centralized control of shared resources. Let me just show you a peer-to-peer network. Let me show you a diagram of a peer-to-peer network. I'll show you peer-to-peer network. Just to the screen. Yeah, I hope you're able to see that. This is what we call a peer-to-peer network. You can see now we're having 4 computers here. And these computers now they have interconnected. We do not have an administrator here, or we do not have that centralized control. We do not have a server in a peer-to-peer network. We do not have what as a server. Individual users can control their own shared resources. This is what we call a peer-to-peer network. You can have another diagram like this one. If you look like this one, we are having 4 computers here. And these computers now, they have been connected to the hub. So computer A can share resources with computer C. Computer A here, or this laptop here, can share the resources with what? With the computer B. We do not have someone, an administrator to manage this network. This is what we call a peer-to-peer network. Understood? So, understood, Juma and Nyabera? Understood? Juma, understood? Nyabera, have you understood? Yeah, that is okay. If you have a student now, we can proceed now. Now, what are the advantages now of having this peer-to-peer network? I want to hear from you now. What are the benefits of having this network? I want to hear from you. You have seen now for this peer-to-peer network, it's very, very simple to install or to configure. What are the advantages of having this network? Let me hear from you, Juma. What are the advantages of having this network? What are the benefits of having this network? Let's look at that diagram and you elaborate or you enumerate some benefits. What are the benefits of having this network according to you? Now, one of the benefits of having this network, or one of the advantages of having this network, it is easy to install and configure. Easy to install and configure. Look at this diagram. In case you have 4 computers, you just clip the cables and you just connect the cables to the hub. Together, just connect the cables to the hub, and configuration is very, very easy. That is one advantage. The second advantage, individual machines do not depend on the presence of a dedicated server. Individual machines do not depend on the presence of a dedicated server. If you look at our diagram here, we do not have a server. We don't have any server. The information on the resources is being shared by the individual computers. We don't have a server. Still, another benefit, individual users control their own shared resources. Individual users control their own shared resources. For example, in case I have 20 documents I'm supposed to share, I must have 20 passwords. And I can decide whether to share the documents or not to share the documents. Why? Individual users control their own shared resources. And still, if you look at this diagram here, it is inexpensive to purchase and operate together because now you just require hub very, very, very cheap and some computers and some cables. Then still, this network do not require an administrator. do not require any dedicated server to run the network. And lastly, for this network, it can work, for example, in case an organization you're having less than 10 people, this is suitable. It can work based on organization which is having less than what? Less than 10 users. Can work in an organization which is having less than 10 users. So these are some of the benefits of having a peer-to-peer network. But now, the same network has some limitations. What are the disadvantages now of an organization which is using a peer-to-peer network? What are the disadvantages now? Because now the organization has more than 10 people. There is no way the peer-to-peer network can be applicable. So it is not suitable for an organization which is having more than 10 users. Not suitable for an organization which is having more than 10 users. Yeah, there's a point here from Juma. Yeah, that Juma point was correct on the advantages. It was correct, Juma. I've seen it was correct. Then another disadvantage, network security applies only to a single resource at a time. Network security applies only to a single resource at a time. So, for example, in case you have shared a certain folder, you have to make sure that folder is secured. In case you are sending 10 documents, you have to have 10 passwords. Each document having its own password. So users may be forced to use as many passwords as there are the shared resources. Because we have said that network security applies only to a single resource at a time. So in case now you're having 30 documents, you must be having 30 passwords. In case you have 30 documents, you must be having what? 30 passwords. Together. And lastly, there is no centralized organizational scheme to locate or control access to data. We do not have that administrator. We do not have centralized control. We do not have that person who manages this network. Because now each machine or each computer must be backed up individually to protect all that shared data. It must be backed up individually to protect all the shared data. Any question or any clarification on the peer-to-peer network? Any question or clarification on the peer-to-peer network? Also, I want to go to the second one, the server-based network. Server-based network. Any question on that? Before I proceed? Any question? Before I proceed? Or any clarification before I proceed? Yeah, we can proceed. Yeah, we can proceed. Now, I will discuss now the second classification based on a point of control or based on network type. This is what we call the server-based network. The server-based network. We can have what we call the server-based networks. We can have the server-based networks. For this one now, we must be having a centralized organization scheme. We must be having an administrator who manages the resources. We must be having a centralized control. We must be having someone who manages what? The network security. So whenever you talk about the server-based network, we provide centralized control over network resources by enforcing network security through the server's own configuration and setup. And we say the computers that will be used for servers, they must be incorporating or they must have a large memory. Any computer that will be used as a server, it must be having a large memory. It must incorporate faster CPUs. The processor must be fast. Remember, in a server now, it can be responding to 100 requests per second. So it must be very, very fast. It must have large disk drives. It even must have extra peripherals. For example, for the tape drives and then compact disk drives. That is what we call a server. Let me just show you a diagram of a server-based network. It does have a server-based network. Now, for this one, you must be having a server somewhere. As we have said, there is what we call centralized control. Just show you. server-based networks. Let me just show you. Like this one. This is a server-based network. Let me just show you. Yeah, this is what we call a server-based network. If you look at this diagram here, all the computers are interconnected to the server. Having a server at the middle point here. For example, in case this laptop requires some information from this laptop, it must be given access by the server. But in this now, what happens now? All the information is kept in the server. So you must be having an administrator who manages what the security. And for this one, it is even more secure than what a peer-to-peer network. For example, in the server-based network, in case you have 40 resources, you just require a single password. Why? A single password gives access to all. This is what we call a server-based network. I hope I have understood. Any question on that? Any question? So now we can discuss now the advantages now of having the server-based network. For this one, we have said a single password for network login gives access to all. A single password gives access to all. Because now you have that shared resources, you just require a single password. So if you compare with the peer-to-peer network, it is more tedious. You have to create each and every resource. You have to create it. You have to create for it a password. Another advantage of the server-based network, there is what you call central user account. And this central user account and access controls, they simplify the network administration. This is account and access controls, they simplify the network administration. Why? We have an administrator who manages that network. Remember, I said that for the servers now, they incorporate puff equipment. So in case now there are more puff equipment, there is more efficient access to the network resources. So this network is more efficient. It's more efficient. Another advantage, because now in your organization have 10 users, it is more applicable in the organization. Or whereby, for example, maybe in the organization, the network or the people like to networks a lot. We can use what the server-based network. But now this network has some limitations. What are the disadvantages of this network now? I want to hear from you. I want to hear from Juma the disadvantages now of this network. What are the disadvantages of this network, Juma and Yabel? I want to hear from you the limitations now of this network. What are the limitations of this network? What are the disadvantages of this network? Yeah, Juma? Any limitation you know about this network now? Now, one of the disadvantages of this network, it is expensive to implement. Expensive to implement. It is expensive to procure servers. Still, it is expensive to train the administrator because they have to be trained to use what the network. Still, another disadvantage, in case now the server fails, the whole network fails. Why? All the information is kept on that single server. All the other client computers, they rely on the server. So at one scenario, in case the server fails, the whole network fails. Still, it is complex. It is complex and requires special or special purpose server softwares. And now, in case it requires special purpose software now, it increases the cost, so it is expensive. Together, yeah. So these are the disadvantages of having the server-based network. Any question? Any question? Any question? Because we are in. Yeah, we are through. I'll share the notes on this platform. I'll also share them in your WhatsApp group. How class today? How was the class today, Juma? How was it? Was it interactive? How was it? How was it? Juma, it was good. What about Nyabel? How was the class today? How was the class today? Nyabela, how was the class today? In case you have any question now, you can ask. When giving discussion questions, can at least allocate more time. Yeah, I'll be doing that, Juma. That is noted. Dedicated, I'll do that. It's okay. That is okay. Yeah, that is noted. And let me just create a poll here. I want to work on. Let me just create one. Let me just create something here. Yeah, let me just create something here. I want you just create. Now, I want to rate the class on a scale of 1 to 5. Yeah, I'm sharing a poll. Have you seen it? There is one I've sent. I want to rate the class 1 to 5. 1 being the minimum, or 1 being very worst, and 5 being very good. I want to just give marks for the class 1 to 5. Just I've posted one. There's a poll I've posted. Yeah, 1 to 5. You can just give 1 on a scale of 1 to 5. You can give 1, you can give 2, you can give 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I've posted. I want to hear. You can just give on a scale of 1 to 5. Rate the class on a scale of 1 to 5. Yeah, so that is okay. So now what I have to do, there's a question I want to leave now for the discussion. I will allocate more time as Jima has requested. I'll allocate more time. Yeah, he has requested. Yeah. Let me just post one. Let me just post one. Yeah, you'll work on it. And the notes, I will upload the notes, you'll see them. I'll upload them just today. I'll upload them.
You are currently the only person in this conference.